Okay, I got distracted. Cool. So, I mentioned this on a stream a while ago, and also on a side note, I'm going to keep this lo-fi music going in the background because I think it's cool to work to. Um, but if it gets super distracting, I'll turn it off. But anyway, for now, let me just take these off. Okay. The idea I mentioned ages ago, I wanted to maybe use the stream as like an opportunity to learn something. It's easy to like say you want to do something and never get around to it, but if I set aside the stream and I do it on stream, it's kind of like teaching and learning at the same time. um, I'll be sort of pressured into doing it because I can't fuck around so much because I'm live streaming what I'm doing, so I can't just like open Reddit and get distracted. And yeah, it's something I'd like to do. So I'm gonna test it out tonight by basically doing a few Spring tutorials on stream together. I have a little spec project outline that I want to try put together. I have decided sort of the stuff I'm going to use to do it, and I'm going to walk through it as if this was some new project that I was doing, so that anybody watching can see sort of how I'd go about it. My Spring knowledge is practically non-existent, so anyone who's worked in it will, I'm sure, see it and think, WTF, mate. But that's okay. That's learning. So like how I'm naming my packages might be fairly arbitrary, and what I used to do what. There's going to be some Googling involved because I have used, DBs and stuff with Spring before, but it was ages ago and I don't really remember. So it's very from scratch. So that's the disclaimer here. But that's okay. We're here to learn, and I think it's going to be cool. I will put the video on YouTube afterwards as my first YouTube video, regardless of how terrible it is, for reference for anybody, probably myself. Basically, okay, so at work, I am an iOS developer, but part of what we're doing now is the iOS devs are expanding to help with the backend work. So that is Spring in our case. And we did a small kind of course, and the next step is to do a small demo project. I have open here, hey look, Chris Miller, sus, close, okay. The demo spec, the test project, okay. So to create a Spring Boot service on start.spring.io, make a REST app that takes notes. Pretty simple. It needs to be able to create a note, so that'll be a post. Edit a note, it's also a post. I'm not sure what exactly is meant by archive. Is it like delete without deleting? So it's archived, so it doesn't show up in the list. I'm not sure. Delete a note, because I mean, if you're creating or editing, you're saving. So how's archiving different to saving or deleting? Doesn't matter. I don't think it's that important. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. First, we'll try creating and listing, because those are sort of your basic, and then editing. So that's what I'll get to off the bat. And then we need to delete and list. So this is basically our spec. I'm gonna treat it, for anyone watching who's like never done any kind of software dev, I'm gonna treat it the same way I would if I was creating a backend for a project, like a real project. Again, I've not done that in Spring before, but I have made PHP backends, and I know vaguely what I'm doing, even if I'm mostly a front-end dev these days. I dream of being purely backend because UIs are a pain in the ass. But okay, so that's setting out my goals for tonight. Try and create this app. See how far we get. Maybe we finish it, maybe we don't. Again, there's going to be a lot of Googling and looking up things. just to show you what I'm going to be working with. I'm going to first make a repo, a code repository on Git. Git is a widely used, repo service, usually Git or Bitbucket. But I like Git, Bitbucket's fine too. Maven repository is for adding libraries to a Spring project. It will be a Maven build, not Gradle. Those are sort of your two options. I'm just going with Maven because that is the one that is being used on the current backend at my work. So it makes sense to use it. Similarly, I like IntelliJ a bit more, I think, but I'm going to use Visual Studio Code because that's what some of the other guys that I work with use. So it makes sense for us to use the same IDE. So, and I've barely used Visual Studio Code, so it'll be worth getting more practice in it because I'm not very familiar with it. I'll share some of this information in the YouTube video in the comments, so that if anybody's interested, I'll share the sites that I use for this and the software. Out of interest sake, oh well, let me go on. Like the project outline said, Spring Initializer to create base projects. This is cool. This is basically Spring Boot, because Spring can be slightly tedious to create new projects in, and there's a lot of setup required. So Spring Boot helps get around a little bit of that, or Spring Initializer anyway, because you can basically define like what your base requirements are. So in our case, we are going to use Spring Web because we're building a web project. Let's say we wanted the data, JPA, then we can persist data in SQL stores. There's a bunch of different ways of storing data. There are a ton. I don't know what most of these things are, but if I knew Spring better, I'm sure I'd find uses for most of them. Yeah, NoSQL databases, messaging. Anyway, there's tons of stuff here. We are probably only going to use web, although I kind of feel like I should have a database in place. I'm just not sure what the best one is for what we want to do. So yeah, that's part of the learning on the job. In fact, I'll probably Google a little bit before I create the project. Here are Spring guides that I was looking at earlier. As you can see, I have a project open. This is a very, very basic REST project. It just has one call to do greeting. I might reference this a bit to get started, but it'll actually, I think, will close it. I don't know if I have more than one window open in this. So yeah, so I'm going to use Visual Studio. We're going to use GitHub or Git, Visual Studio Code anyway. A Spring Initializer. To test the API, I'm going to make a new collection in Postman. I'm a big fan of Postman for any kind of API testing. As you can see here, I have a crap ton of Postman collections. I think it's super useful. You can use like curl or in the command line if that's your thing. There's other tools too, but I like Postman. It's also really nice for making automated testing. So that'll be that. And I think that's most of the tools that I will be using. So without further ado, let's begin. I'm going to, let's Google quickly, Spring Boot basic database storage, just to see. I want to include something there. Spring data projects. I don't think this is what I'm doing. Here we go. Yeah, there are lots. I'm not entirely sure what the best one will be. I did have an old project that I could look at, but let's not worry too much about that. JPA is... We literally just are gonna want one table with notes. It's that simple. Basically, almost anything is going to be overkill. Um, we could sort of temporarily just store them in an array, but I think that that's maybe too basic, and we should probably accessing data JPA. So this is probably a good place to start. Yeah, okay, so we can, if we make a note class similar to this, then we can, yeah, list our notes. That seems straightforward enough. And then the application, and we will need a yeah, and then just expanded on it. So this is populating the DB a bit, so that there's some code to test with. Alright, then let's use JPA to start, because I don't know what else to use, and yeah, why not? I'm gonna go back to the rest of our web service here for reference. Okay, so we have Spring Web. Before I, oh, let's add JPA. Spring Data JPA, cool. I do hope, okay. I don't know where it's going to save it, because I don't really see cool things running on my PC at the moment, but that's alright. So, right, step 1, create an empty repo. Let's do it. New repo. Spring training. Spring note taker. That sounds very original. Spring note taker is available. That's good. It would be available under me. It will just be a public repo. I could even share it if anybody would like to do something. Training project Spring. There we go. Can add a README. I'm not going to add a get-ignore because I saw that Spring IO actually adds an ignore file for you. Thank you, Wayne. Yes, I plan to learn all the things. There wasn't a nice category for learning, but yeah, that's the plan. I will. I need to learn how to do this anyway, and I thought it'd be fun to do on stream. And I've been wanting to do this for a while anyway. To do some educational content on stream. And like I said, I'm gonna slap this bad boy on YouTube, which will be my first YouTube video, which will include me talking about it being my first YouTube video. Very professional. Okay, like I said, so we're on GitHub, we have our account, we're making a public repo, anyone can do this. When I add a README file, it will be empty. I won't add a get-ignore file because Spring IO includes ignore files by default, and I don't need a license. So let's create our repo. A lot of people like to use tools with an interface for Git. I actually just like using the command line. So here we are, our empty repo with nothing but a README. So this is now online. We want to get it locally, so we can just copy this, and then we can. I need CMD. Oops. There we go. CMD. Cool. Let's navigate to. Let's close this to my coding. Java. Oops. That's very professional. Coding. Oh my word, I can't. Okay. I'm pressing backspace and it's not doing that. This is a problem. What the hell is going on? Caps. What the shit? Okay, we're just gonna press tab. C coding. I would normally do backslashes, but it appears my backslash isn't backslashing because right now it's doing hashes. So So that's unfortunate. Spring test tab isn't even. Wow. Okay, I don't know what's going on. This was working earlier. This is, like I said, a very professional place. Right, Spring test. We have our demo app and our REST apps from earlier. We'll just clone the repo here. So we're gonna git clone. There's nothing in it, so it should clone very quickly. There we go. Sorry, Spring Note Taker. Cool. Now we can cd Spring Note Taker. And from here we can do like a git status, and we can see that our branch, we're up to date with our main branch. There's nothing to commit. It only has a readme in the git folder. So what we're going to do now is go to our Spring initializer. We've chosen the two dependencies that we want, Spring Web for the REST API and Spring Data JPA for our data storage. And we are going to click Generate. And we're going to save. And we're going to save it. Okay. Oops. No. Sorry. Let's change the name. Okay. I don't mind the group package can stay com.example, but the app name is going to be, what did I just call it? Spring Note Taker. So let's just call it Note Taker, and the artifact can be the same. Cool. Description. I'm going to copy paste my description from here. There we go. That should be fine. I'm using Java 11 for no particular reason. And I Spring Boot recommend using the most recent stable version, so that's 2.5.5 at the moment. And I am going to generate this. Cool, save. Note taker. Alright, now that generates for us a. Where did I just save that? Did I just? I was so confused. Oh, I saved it in CLI. Sorry, let me cut. Put that where it's supposed to be. Alright. Java. Spring test. Note taker. Okay. So if we extract this here. You know, I think I want to move everything up. So actually, let's just paste it. Cool. So we don't need note taker or note taker. So now we have our git ignore, which includes just the basic jank, including VS Code. That's nice of them. And this was the base for our project. So if we say git status here now, you can see we have lots of new files that we've added. Maven, I don't know whether these things should be included or not, to be honest. I feel like jars should probably not be included, because do I want to include, you know, built jars? Probably not. But that's okay. For now, I'm just gonna get everything. I actually don't do a lot of dev on my PC, which is why I'm getting things about lines being replaced, but that's okay. Just adding everything. And source. Cool. Alright, so we can now. Oops. Oh my word, what is wrong with my computer right now? That I can't do quotes. The timing couldn't be better for this. I don't understand why my keyboard is now shitting the bed. You try to do something. That slash works. That works. Why is this single but not the... Did I like press Alt or something? Did I change my keyboard language? Oh no. Okay. This can be edited out. But it probably won't be. Keyboard Keat. That makes sense. Go away edge. Keyboard. Let's try. Oh my word, they switched positions. Quotes and at. You know, control panel, regional language keywords. Okay. Did I really manage to do this just before a stream? Might be language. Keyboard. This is set to English South Africa. Maybe it's supposed to be. Yeah, okay. The moment it's fixed. Thank fuck. Okay. Jesus. Alright. That was unfortunate timing. Okay, so we can commit with our message initial initial project. And you know we can. Does nano work? Does nano work in CMD? No, it does not. Okay, oops, that's not an issue. I can just edit the README. We really don't need to use Atom like that. I do like Atom though. Okay, we don't need to edit that. And then we can get status, and we can get push. Now, if we go to our repo there, our code is live. So that's pretty cool. Well, live. It's been pushed. Alright, so let's get back to our project requirements. We need to be able to create a note, edit a note, archive a note, delete a note, and list notes with paging. Cool. So first, I think I should begin where every project begins, with the Hello World application. No, okay, that's not necessarily necessary. So let's open our project. So we're going to take this one. This is our old project that we're seeing. This code is taking its sweet time. I do trust the authors. Cool. Alright. Okay. So with our Java projects, we're going to want a terminal. Move this across. Alright. It's just busy populating itself very slowly. So in source, what do we have? Let's have a look. The application, basically, yeah. So this is fine. We'll take the application can be our base application. That is not an issue. Resources. Is this empty? Right, that's not a problem. View and projects, that's where we are. Right, so we have what it is here, nothing. Alright, cool. Tests. Maybe another day I'll do the same thing, but with test-driven development. That's probably a cool idea. I like that. Because I also don't know how to properly unit test string projects. So. Cool. Alright, so we have our application. This doesn't do anything. What we are going to need, that I know that we're going to need. So a controller. Controllers are the classes that handle the requests and do things with them. I like MVVM sort of, but that I think is kind of specifically an iOS thing as our design pattern. So we're gonna have a controller, and then there's that interface that handles the selection. That'll basically be our view model. And then the models are like the nodes. So for packages, we're going to want controller. And we are going to want model. And I suppose, what did they call them? Queries. So we don't have to use like necessary conventional naming if another naming convention makes more sense. Calling them view models, let's just call it query. Alright, so we know that we're going to have a controller which calls our model that represents the data objects, which are nodes, and the queries, which are how we save and load up the nodes that we have. So this is fine. I think the first thing that we want to do is create our node taker controller. So let's do that. Node taker controller. It is a class, and it is going to be just looking at stuff. There's greetings. Okay, it is a REST controller. I sure wish. There we go. Oof, and it doesn't auto suggest the things that you want. Alright, cool. And this can handle our calls. So let's do something vanilla like this just to test that everything's working. I don't know if we'll need an atomic counter for IDs. I think JPA will probably have something to auto-increment IDs, but if not, that's fine too. So let's just do a mapping to mapping. Hello. Okay. Slash hello. And this will be public test. Oops. Gosh. Test. Hello. And all this is going to do is return. Sorry, I'm used to Spring Swift formatting, which would have had the return after. Anyway, let me just return a hello world. Hello. Right. Okay. So now we can at least test that the app is working. Oh, everything's red. Get mapping. You bring the door into. Okay, so now in our terminal, if we go this one, Spring. I think this will work. Spring Boot. Run. Okay, cool. So now it's going to download the libraries that we need and start up the server. And then we can do our Spring. That's what we want to see. Alright, it did fail. And we don't really know why. Application failed with Xcode 1. Yeah, of course it did. This is not a helpful error message. Okay, failed to configure data source. Well, attributes not specified in the data source could be. Yeah, I was a bit worried that adding the data might be a problem. Okay. So, don't know where. Is it in the POM? So, swing boots and boot. Here we are. JPS starter. Red taker. Repository. Okay. So we have an issue running because of because we haven't configured our database. I think like if you want an embedded DB, if you want DB settings to be loaded from it, I wouldn't mind an embedded DB. I do have an old project from long ago that used okay, let me see if I can find that. No, that's not very no man. This isn't very learning, is it? Just looking at old code. Or my old projects that I've long since forgotten. Okay, we're gonna close that. Let's do this. So this is the demo project to. So go there, choose either Gradle or Maven, select JPA, and then H2DB. Ooh. Do we need to do this again, but with H2? Maybe we do. H2? DB. Well, that's okay. We haven't done a whole lot. Easy to replace. Otherwise the same. Okay. Save. Anyway, you don't want to save it in the string boot CLI. That was a mistake. Alright, cool. So if we have the H2DB, maybe we will not have our current problem. Coding. Java string test. Taken. Here. Cool. Alright. I'm honestly just going to replace everything. So straight here. So, oops. That gives us this. What we're going to do is paste everything over. This might be a disaster. Replace files. Now, close this. Do we have our new things here? But you can see that the form has been, so it's got, this has the new files. But if we just try build it again, otherwise I'll just close the project and open it again. It's not an issue. This is an H2DB. Is it alive? It seems to be. So if we go to localhost, host 8080, white label error. Okay, did that. Not exactly what we were hoping to see, but that's, you know, it's a start. Oh, it's because I called it hello. There we go. Great success. Alright. Crisis averted. I'm just an idiot. Alright, so then I think the next thing to do is to create a new Postman collection. Okay, this note. Spring note taker. Yeah. Collection for testing spring note taker. Okay. What's nice to do? No. You can add like variables and use them in the queries and stuff, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. So let's open Spring Note Taker. We can add a new request. It will just be called hello. And this one. And it is a get. And this just goes to local host 8080 slash hello, and it is that simple. And if we see the returned body is hello world. Perfect. Save. Postman is like an invaluable tool, really. Anyone who's ever going to do the kind of dev, even if you aren't a backend dev, just to test other people's backends, it's really handy. Okay, cool. Next up, we are compiling, so this is good. I think the next step to take is to actually do this tutorial. These tutorials are so short that I think doing it online together is not a bad thing. Maybe I run into some issue that you also run into, and then I save you having to. Right, so Spring Initializer we've done, except I added web. This project doesn't have web. Define a simple entity. Okay, so this is what we're going to do now. So they made a customer Java. We are going to make a class for our nodes. So in our models, we're going to make a new Java class. We're going to call it node. And it is class. And now we get to use some cool Spring notation. So I don't know exactly what entity does. You can read about that now. It will have an ID. It looks like there's an auto-generated ID there, so that's nice. So let's do @ID generated value. And okay, like I don't know exactly what these do, but you can read into it, right? So generation type. And we hope that this isn't an issue. Private ID. So assuming, okay, we didn't actually import it, which is unfortunate, but we can maybe generate a value. No, to do that, generation type. I think if I just do it. Okay. Oh, it's all uppercase. It is a constant. Cool. Alright, so by the looks, this will yeah, so our note. Alright, let's just look. We need to create a note, edit a note, archive a note, and delete a note. What does a note need? The ID is important for saving in the DB. The customer is the first name and last name. But the note does not. I think a title and then just content. So let's do that. Private string title, private string content. That makes sense. And then I don't know why they have a protected one, but let's just copy them for now. Hopefully this will become apparent. Okay, and then what's nice, you can say source action, and you can generate a constructor. No, you don't ID, because that apparently does itself. So that, like that. This is crying because they are private and they don't have accesses. Well, for doing a toString, so let's do override. I think all Java objects have toString. So let's do our custom ones that it can print nicely. toString. And we are just going to return and this is going to be I work on a Mac too much. My keyboard isn't like alright. ID this is it F. What is the freaking oh they have it there. D. Thank you. D and then I think we do another new line. We can do title, we can do this S, and then we can do a new line. And then we can just do S for the content. Then our args are ID, title, content. Return that. Cool. So this just creates, this just is a toString method that we can use to print notes, to display them in like a console in a more readable format than Java might have given us by default. It's not really that important, to be honest. Alright, and then we want to make getters. And probably a setter. But it's fine for now, we'll just... Yeah, at the moment they only set on creation. So I might want to make setters for the title and the content. Anyway, sorry too much about that. Getters and setters. I really just want gets, but okay. I don't think we ever want to set the ID, but I do think we want to set them. Just I'm just gonna have them anyway. All right. Cool, so that gets the ID, gets and sets the title, gets and sets the content of the note. Cool, alright, so we've now basically done what they did here, but for our note. You have a customer class with 3 attributes, you also have 2 constructors. The default constructor only exists for the sake of JPA, you do not use it directly, so it's designated as protected. Okay, so that's why that's there, sort of. We don't exactly know why it's there, but it's not important at the moment. The other constructor is the one used to create instances of customer. Sure. Customer class is noted with entity, indicating that it is a JPA entity because no table annotation exists. It is assumed this entity is mapped to a table called customer. Yeah, sure. So ours will be mapped to notes. Cool. Customer object ID is noted with an ID, so the JPA recognizes its ID, like primary key presumably. The ID property is also noted with generated value to indicate that it should be generated automatically. Okay, cool. And the 2 properties are left unnoted to assume that they are mapped to columns that share the names That's 100%. Yeah, this is just a convenience method for us, potentially. Create simple queries. Cool. So that's the next step. Spring Data JPA focuses on using JPA to store data in a relational DB. Its most compelling feature is the ability to create repository implementations automatically at runtime from the repository interface. Cool. To see how this works, create a repository interface that works with customer entities in the following listing. Okay, so they call this a repository, and it is crude repository. I called it queries. I suppose I can read from that. But no, I'm... Ugh, fine. Delete. Yeah. Okay, so let's conform slightly. So we'll call this, did I say new Java class? New package. Okay, no. Repository, it's a weird name. Anyway, it's okay. So we now create a Java class called save customer repository with a repository. Cool. It is a class. No, it's actually not a class, it's an interface. Sweet. Alright, so and we want to extend CRUD repository, how it looks. CRUD repository. Customer long. Alright. And we're gonna assume that that's fine. Note. And it's the object long, the wrapper. Okay, cool. List. Ooh, do we wanna... I'm all for having a lookup, so let's make it find by item. I think let's not worry about searching by the content of a node. Why are you moaning about list? It's going to be util. Find by title, and then sure. Note. ID. Oh, interesting that we do the lowercase d. Every language does this differently. Long ID. I just pressed Windows button. Okay. I think. Do I want to add one? I just want to get like all of them. List. Note. Shit, I don't know what the format for that would be. Oh, interesting. Save. Find. Oh, find all. So there's a find all. I wonder if I need to implement that because I have noted. Maybe I don't need to implement it. All right. Well, let's stick with this for now and see how it goes. Cool. So, credit repo, customer repo extends credit repo interface. The type of entity and ID that it works with is customer and long, specified in the generic parameters of credit repository. By extending credit repository, customer repository inherits several methods for working with customer persistence, including methods for saving, deleting, and finding. Okay, so it's cool if we just have sort of this functionality built in there. Spring Data JPA also lets you define other query methods by declaring the method signature, for example. Yeah, we can now find by last name. Well, we find by title. In a typical Java app, you might expect to write a class that implements customer repository. However, that is what makes Spring Data JPA so powerful. You need not write an implementation of the repository interface. Spring Data JPA creates an implementation when you run the app. Cool. Now you can wire up the example and see what it looks like. Right, create an application. We have an app application class. Here it is. I don't think that I need to expand this. Let's String application includes configuration, enable auto configuration, and component scan. That's component scan's cool, it's about confined like our controllers and things like that. Shall we see quickly if we will see this, if it runs. We shouldn't, it didn't change anything that should impact running things, but we can at least see if there's like some compile error or something. Order. Cool. Alright, that's live, and presumably our hello will still work. We can just run this and see. Yeah, cool. Okay. Used to modify the simple class that the initializer created for you to get the output. You need to set up a logger. We don't need to do this though, because we're not doing a Java app, we're doing a REST API app. So I don't need to populate it all here. What I want to do is create a post function and a get. So the get is useless without the post. So we need to, and how to do a get string post function. Have an employee, a bean, which is the platform, mapping employees, post mapping. How do I post a new employee though? Like remotely. But this is basically exactly what we want to do. So let's try it. If we go to our controller and we do a post mapping, and that is not how brackets work. We call it puts. No. Why are they posting employees? It's odd naming. I feel like you want to post employee, but they've. And I might be a bit behind with my naming of REST extensions. Okay, well let's stick with what the professionals say. So notes, singular notes. Okay, I'll post as notes. I prefer singular generally, but we're gonna listen to the professionals. Note, new note. This is the only thing I'm not sure how exactly you post an employee. So add request body note, new note, oops, new note, like that. Okay, while I'm trying for the moment, as we're not returning anything, I already have imported that. Okay, cool. So we are going to. Oh, we need to make our repository. Okay, cool. So we want something like this. I could just copy paste, but I'm gonna type things out just to try and remember them. So we are going to private. My space bars not working. Final note repository. Old repository. We're going to create an initializer or a constructor. It's not repository. Cool. Alright, and then we can say return employees. This is the post employees. new note. And then, just so we're actually able to test anything, I think we need the get mapping here. I wonder, do these comments matter? These. Right, we did skip a bit of this tutorial, so we're winging it a little bit, but that's okay. That's how the pros do it. That's how I literally do it at work. I wing it every day. That's how I've always done it, and I've made some good stuff. Work for good companies and livelihood. We are not employees. We are notes. List. This one. Note. All. Return. Repository. Space bar return. Add all. And repository. Find. Cool. Why use that? Miserable to list. Don't tell me that. Oh, does the aggregate thing matter there? Do the comments matter? I don't like that. Int root tag root. It seems unlikely. I don't know what I'm typing yet. And get root. Don't know what this does. You can probably make a list from an iterable anyway, but was there a different book? Find a title. Dot. Can you make a list from a note? New list. I mean, a list from an iterable. What dot? Spring sometimes. Okay. Java. I'm sure this is the way to do this. I hope. Yeah, it looks kind of like that's what the comments there are doing, but so dot reach. But we have to have a result. List. So, making this very ugly now. Do you want me to multiple list? Also, list isn't an implementable type. Array. Hello, array list. Thank you. Okay, and then we can say for each result add. Okay. Results. Is this syntax kind of? I'm not going to return. Yeah. Return result. There we go. And I don't know what this is. Okay. I don't like this because I'm looping over the freaking thing twice. Oh, well, this is fine. Note. What? I think let's make it a linked list. It's fine. Wish. You can create a linked list from an extension. I wonder, yeah, the sample code for find all returns a list, but this one returns literable. Oh well, it's okay. We're just gonna go with this for now. Thankfully, our list is not big enough that this is ever going to be a problem, or it won't be big enough to ever be a problem. Yeah. This is no. This is where we are. Okay, cool. No, I'm lying. Okay. Alright, well right now we can get, which is nice for testing, and we can post. What I haven't quite figured out is how to test this post. So this will test the get. Alright, well let's create that. So we want to add our new request. Request name get employee, not employees, notes. And this is going to go to hello. It's going to use the same slash. Oh my word. Copying this other code is killing me. Alright, notes. Alright, cool. It's our project, so it's notes. It should just be a case of. It should return an empty list. Oh, I have to actually run it. 404 is actually what we expect, yeah. Notes not found because when we ran the server it didn't exist. So if we kill the server, we run this again. If everything is working. Cool. Then if we run this, we should get an empty list. Yes, perfect. That's exactly what we were expecting. An empty list. Now, the trickier one, which probably won't be that tricky, but if we say add request, post, space bar. That's what happens when your toddler smashes your keyboard enough. Post note, save, and this is going to be a post, and it's actually got the same path, and the body. This is what I'm not sure about. So we can try like do raw JSON with the title, and JSON, so it's nicely formatted for us. Title and content, yeah? Content. Blah, blah, blah. Cool. Alright, I don't know if this is going to work. Let's go. Where do we get back? Oh, fuck me, it worked. Okay. Well, that was easy. So your JSON just has to conform to the structure of the object that you're trying to save. So now if we, well, I don't know if it's working yet, but it did return. Here we go, our note. So now we can say tester do blah blah blah. Again, save, send. At the same time, this should be, I don't know if it notes. I haven't really done a logger, so I should have done a logo, but oh well. Cool. So this return. So all right. So what's happening here? We're running this Java server from Visual Code here in this terminal. It's our project. When we do that, it listens on localhost, which is this, on port 8080, to the following extensions: hello, notes, and notes. Notes and notes can be the same because the one is a get and the other is a post. The get returns a list of all the notes that are saved at the moment, and the post returns, well, it tries to create a new node and then returns that node. So this is doing exactly what we expect. So here's our post. We give it the title and content, and it returns the node, which should have the exact same title and content plus its ID, which is automatically generated. Then get notes returns a list of all the nodes. So last time we ran this, there was only the one node. So if I run it now, well, there should be 2. Yes. Node 1, node 2. Brilliant. So far, so good. So the next thing that we want to do let's have a look at our spec. So far we can create a note and we can list notes, although we don't have paging on that. So I'll have to look at the paging section another time. We need to be able to edit a note, archive, and delete. Delete should be easy enough. Let's see. We can do a delete map. Mapping. Notes. And then we've got our freaking Windows key. They actually had an example of it here that we should be able to reuse. Okay, so you do the ID like that. So, ID. And then we can just void delete note. Variable, okay. And then presumably we just call our repository or delete by ID. ID. Easy, okay. So let's try that. Close this down. Start it up again. Now, use Postman. Let's see. The notes should have persisted. The notes did not persist. Interesting. I wonder if the H2 is like temporary storage. That's okay though. For our needs, it's fine. So maybe if we were using a different DB, yeah, because I don't have any SQL servers or anything running on this PC, so that's fine. At the moment, the data dies when we restart the server, but that's not an issue. So let's post a note. Save, send. Cool, so there's our ID 1. If we get notes, and we can just do this again, and now we'll have 2 of the same notes, but their IDs will be different. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add a new request. It's going to be delete note. Let's make this a bit wider. I can actually close it over, we don't need this. This is going to call the same thing, but it is a delete request. Now I think this doesn't have a body, so if we say ID equals 1, send. Method not allowed, path notes. Method not allowed. Request method delete not supported. Interesting. Oh, maybe we should add an exception. Probably should, because we're also going to have to look up employees. So I'm getting distracted now. I'm going to take a exception. The first name will be note not found exception. No exceptions classes. There. Does it need to extend runtime exception? I'm just going to trust this thing. Extends runtime exception. ID, yeah, that makes sense. ID text string. At least we have this now for one day. Do not find notes with ID. Okay, cool. I don't know if we'll need that or not, but I wonder if we have to do something to enable delete. Okay. Let's see. What was the error? This is where the real dev work comes in. Supported deletes. Oh, do I need to? Did I restart it after I did the delete? I think I did. Yeah, this is delete mapping. Okay, well, let's just start it up again. Let's see. Your missing response body method was actually being called. What does this look like? The request mapping method delete. Let's just see, we've started up. Let's test the Postman again. So delete this note, this note, there's the note. Method not allowed. That's an interesting one. This is real dev work, by the way. Spring. Delete. That's how you spell allowed, but it's fine. Google will fix it for us. Oh, am I dumb? Well, for one thing, yeah, it's the format is not like this. /1. Send. Ah, I was just sending the query wrong. So now, if we search here, there should be nothing. Sweet. Okay, so let's post 2 more. 2, 3. 2, 3. What if we do this with 1? Internal server error because we can find it. But it didn't crash. Okay, cool. 2, or let's try 3. So now 3 should be gone. Sweet! Working. It was working. Right, so we've ticked off a couple of things. We've ticked off delete, list, notes, but not with paging. Archive the notes and create a note. So for edit, we have to look it up, set the values, and then save it. And for archive, I need to figure out what the hell they mean by archive, and then for paging. Okay, so let's spring JPA H2 lookup with Imagination example. Great stuff. This is also not the same lookup as we're using, but okay. And I just put learning a DB. Is there a repository? Ooh, paging and sorting repository. Find all pageable. Okay, well, that does complicate things slightly, but that's okay. I wonder if this will just dot find page. That would have been too convenient. So it's paging and sorting repository. Do I need to do a different repository? Maybe. I'm not even using these functions. Wonder, CRUD repository, extends repository. What about paging and sorting repository? Because, like, bearing in mind that I'm not using either of these functions, I will use this. Does this also? This actually extends CRUD repository, so that's fine. Okay, so all that we've done now is get an extra layer of functionality on here. So we can leave the same functions, and that's not a problem. Cool. We don't need custom lookups, but we do need. I'm going to delete hello. Postman. Delete. Okay. So to use this, is the controller. So page request of page size direction. Jesus. Well, I'm not going to worry about sorting. Let's let it return in the order that it is in the DB. That'll be by its ID, the order it's created in. So let's say get mapping. Idiot, you don't assign a mapping here. Figure that doesn't work. It's getting hard here. Oh, so they have a request mapping as part of the REST controller there. Interesting. So, what if we do that? Oops. Mapping nodes. Then for our get mapping, we can do that. Do we need the size and sorted and everything? Well, let's see. Maybe we can just get by with the page. In the post mapping, I suppose it doesn't need an argument. And this is probably I'm gonna have to just test again that everything works after this change. Okay, so let's just check that everything's still working after this change. Yes. Run again. See what happens. Because I mean, if your whole class is going to use the same extension anyway. That's kind of cool because then you can do like a nodes controller and a whatever controller for different objects. So now let's test this. We say get nodes. That's not what we want to see. First nodes. That worked. Oh, notes page equals. Sorry. One. Okay, it doesn't matter because it's not doing anything with it, but it needs to be there. Okay, cool. Let's add a couple more nodes. Search again, and then try delete. Because now it wants. I wonder. What if we do like that? Let's try. This is a lot of experimentation. That's the point of the stream. In. I could create a bunch of notes in the application, but yeah. That's why we have Postman. Post. You're just printing something, right? Oops. That wasn't intentional. You can come back. You can come back, please. Alright, cool. So we added some. If we list them now, we have 4. Cool. And if we say delete 2, will this work? Are we secret geniuses? Yes, we are. Fantastic. Okay, cool. So back to this now. Let's do this paging. So we need to make a page request and then do that. So we can say page request equal equals page request of. Okay, so we need the internet size. So I'm gonna say, let's just say that our private static page size was 10. I want to make 5. Why are you crying about final? Oh, wait. Okay, page size. Oh, I'm page. I hope that this correlates. We will see. Alright, then we have our pageable, and we can then say page note results. Yeah, there's going to have to be some renaming here. Equals repository note and we have pageable. Okay, cool. And then when does this get content to, like, what is this? Don't. What is control click is not doing anything. What do they just used list, which is the same thing I used. Okay. I'm gonna copy them. Because I'm assuming that they know what they're doing. Not result is size by results. Empty. Then we have to return again with the spelling. Okay, cool. Let's return an empty linked list. Return a new. Oh my god, I can't spell return. That's a terrible word not to be able to spell in list. Not implied. Okay. It looks like there's an error, but I don't know what it is. Pageable. What? No. copy it. What's the error? Page can be resolved to type. Did I? Page. There you go. Okay. Well, this is cool, and actually I like this more than what I was doing before, which is a bit of a monstrosity. So our page size is 5. Let's test out this bad boy. So, here we are. We can try post some notes. They still work. That's good. Alright, our page size is 5. So if we have 11, we should have 3 pages worth of notes. Page 1. Ooh, so we start at 0. But this looks like it's working correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11. Fantastic! Someone's solved all of our problems for us. Thank you, whoever this page was. Java by developer. And of course, Stack Overflow, the ultimate source of truth. Very cool. So, if we look at our little spec, we have about 25 minutes of stream left, and we've done create, delete, and list with paging. Again, I'm not definition of archive, because I want to know exactly. I know. Okay, I know what archive means. Phrases are moving data that's no longer actively used to separate storage device for long-term retention. Okay. Should I just like make an archived note and delete the current note? I'm not going to worry about the archiving. I'm not sure exactly what they want us to do. So I'm not going to worry about that, but we do want to be able to edit a note. Did I just close something? I'm just opening tons of tabs for no apparent reason. We didn't need our Maven repository. So, do they have an edit here? Just put. Replace. It's the same. Yes, that's what we want to do. With a put. So you find an employee, or you create a new one. But we can just not do that, because I think that if you send an invalid ID, it should probably, that's where that exception should come in. This is exactly what we want. Man, this website really made things easy for us. Now it's going to have the same, just bearing in mind that it's the same as this, void, date, note, variable, ID. Cool. Alright, but let's not return a void, let's return a note. So we want to return repository dot find by ID. ID. Dot. This the last time I used Java, this syntax wasn't a thing, but it is in Swift. Some kind of, it's a closure. See if this even works. Title. Oh, we need a new employee. Oh, it's just a request body. This is so cool. Why would you use PHP? Content. Okay. Oh, and we want to do we? Yeah, okay. Repository dot save. Note. Okay, so what is this sad about now? Can convert optional object to note. Oh, that's why we have the else gate here. Eh? What if? So how that? Okay, not try to make this optional. If we do that, optional. Note. Here we go. And then just delete that thing. So this should update with the note data that we sent through, note with the given ID, and then just return it. Let's see what happens. And that's put. So Postman. I don't know why my Postman doesn't have a real icon, but whatever. Let's just restart the server. Cool. So we will start by posting a note. Okay, there are no notes on page 2, so that's right. Cool, there's our note. We're not going to delete a note yet. We are going to add a new request though. So this will be put, let's just call it what it is, update note. This is a put, and they all have the same path. Cool. Now let's have the ID 1 there, and then its body is JSON. We can copy this. Importantly, we want to actually change it though. So at the moment, if we run our list function, we get 1 test title, blah blah blah. So let's make it test data title. More blah. Okay, cool. So if we save this now, if we post this and then we pull here, we should, if everything's working. It returned more blah. Okay, exactly what we want. So if we run this now, I don't know why I'm doing Frozen 2, but that's okay. It works. And then if you post this, oh my goodness, this is just shits all over PHP. Well, admittedly, Laravel is quite easy to set up and get running and expand on. I did cool things with Laravel. Okay, and now if we delete number 1. Great. Let's post another one. There it is. And update number 3. Send. This is what we're sending. This is what we're giving back. This is exactly what we expect. Huzzah! Okay. I'm calling this a great success. We've ticked off everything except the archive. And I think, I don't know if using this H2 that only lasts like for the life cycle of the server, that archiving is even a relevant thing to be doing this. So I think I've done this tutorial before. Okay. Mission accomplished. I'm gonna call it there. Thank you to anyone who popped past. If anybody watches this VOD, I'm gonna put this video on YouTube, and if I do any more, I'm gonna start possibly uploading other things to YouTube, but if I do any more kind of educational videos like this, learning videos. So I learned a lot. I even outside the content of one of these, learned about the request mapping for the whole controller, which is really cool. How to extend them like this with the path variables. How to map the request bodies in a function call to the function. How to page. I think it's very cool. And I'm feeling a bit more confident to potentially start picking up tickets at work based on this. Obviously, of course, it's huge projects, so it might take me a little longer to get ramped up. It's okay, that's how it goes. Yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Again, I'm going to post this in... Wait, almost forgot the most important thing. Git status, git add source, git status. Always commit your code. That's the most important thing. Not necessarily to the main or master branch, but that's fine. Working version of basic requirements. It's not sure what we do about our coding. Also need to look into this. I think I have the git command line tool installed, but why not just use CMD? And then we want to push. And if we look at our repo here, there we go. 27 seconds ago we updated the source and the POM. That's because, yeah, the POM, when we added the H2, it had new stuff. Cool. That's me. This will be on the YouTubes. I think my Twitch description has the YouTube. I might do some more in the future. I'd like to. I just have to think of topics to do. And I enjoyed this and I learned quite a lot. So thanks anyone for joining. If anyone else views, I hope that you also feel like you learned something. That's the whole point. Cheers, stay safe, have a good one. Stopping.